Today we're going to talk about arguments some more, but we're going to talk about some new qualifiers. We have what we call universal, affirmatives, or negative. Universal means everything. So when we say universal, we're either thinking all of something or none of something. It's everything or it's nothing. We actually have a symbol for it, which looks like an upside down A. That would mean all. If we wanted to then have the negative, we could either say not all, or what's usually done is an A with like the slash through it. Because not all could mean that there's still some. So we usually just do the all and put the slash through it, which would denote then none. So our universals are saying something like all citizens have the right to vote. Okay. Then the universal negative would be no minors are allowed to vote. So there's no gray area there. It's everything or it's nothing. Then we have our existential affirmatives and negatives, which mean that some do, some don't. So our symbol for that is a backwards E. It stands for exist. So we could say there exists some. So there exists some citizens that vote. Okay, some people do vote. I don't know why it's backwards and why the A is upside down. I think it's because we use letters to denote things a lot. So we don't want to like use a letter and then have a letter also mean something else. So they just kind of take the letter and then distort it a little bit so that it now still kind of represents it, but it's no longer just a plain letter. We can also have the existential negative, which means that some do not. And essentially those kind of say the same thing, because since they're both some, if some of them do something, then some of them don't do something, right? So those essentially say the same thing. So we have a few examples here. And we are going to do these not with truth tables, but with something that are called Euler's circles. Euler is an extremely famous mathematician. His name is there. It looks like it says Euler, but it's actually pronounced Euler. That's one of my math teacher pet peeves when people call this man Euler. His name is Euler. We will encounter him at least one more time this year for something else he did, and I'm trying to think if there's any more after that. But he did a lot. He comes up in a lot of different math classes for his things, and he thought a good way to represent these are with circles, which are essentially Venn diagrams. But when we start to talk about alls, then our Venn diagram circles would be totally overlapping. So one circle completely fits inside of another circle. So it says some Impressionist paintings are Renoirs. So how we would do that is with a regular Venn diagram. And so I've got Impressionist painting and Renoir. So some are both, some are just Impressionists, some are Renoir. Then it says, dance at, and I assume that's French, I don't speak French, dance at wherever is an Impressionist painting. Therefore, it's a Renoir. So what we need to do is figure out, okay, so now we're given the specific painting, where does it go in this diagram? So we want to put a point that represents this in here somewhere. We know it's Impressionist. Do we then know it has to be Renoir? It could be, but it doesn't have to be, right? It just has to be inside of that Impressionist circle, but we don't know which part of the Impressionist circle it's inside of. So that means this conclusion is invalid. Because it didn't have to end up inside of the Renoir circle. It could, but it doesn't have to. The next one says, all poets are good spellers. When we're talking about all, we're going to have completely overlapping circles. All poets are good spellers. What's going to go inside and what's going to go outside?
Poet is on the outside. Speller is on the inside.
So somebody give an answer and give an argument for why you think it's that way.
All
We have
poets,
50-50.
because not all poets can be good spellers.
This says that all of them
Not
are.
all spellers are good poets. So
But not all spellers are necessarily good spellers.
Spellers
Are
are
poets.
poets are inside.
Oh, you have to.
So poets are inside.
I don't want it.
Because all of the poets should fit inside of the spellers. Okay? The all is on the poets, so they need to be completely contained within the spellers. Okay, whatever has a modifier all needs to be completely contained within. So all of our poets are completely contained again within the group of good spellers. Dante is not a good speller. Okay, so where's Dante going to go in our picture?
Outside of the spellers.
Outside of the speller's circle. Therefore, Dante is not a poet.
True.
That's valid. There's no way he can end up inside of that poet circle since he's not inside of the speller circle. All fried foods are greasy. Okay, so we're going to end up with a big circle and a smaller circle. Hopefully I don't make this too small. What's going in and what's going out?
All fried foods are going in.
Right.
Okay, so fried goes in and greasy goes out.
Greasy.
So gross.
All greasy foods are delicious. How do I bring that into this?
Make a new circle
Around
around the.
Around everything, all the
Say
greasy
delicious.
foods need to fit inside delish.
That means that all fried foods are delicious.
All delicious foods are healthy.
So that has to be another circle.
I know, so go
What?
healthy than you.
That's not true.
Yes, the premises here are not necessarily true, but given these premises, then we wonder, can we conclude all fried foods are healthy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can conclude that frieds are completely contained within healthy.
False. It's not logical.
The argument is valid, but it's still there's still a flaw because the premises aren't true. So given these premises, the conclusion is logical, but somebody has a false premise in here because all delicious foods are not healthy.
Where does the dot go?
The dots would be at therefore. Therefore, I mean, like our little green dot we've been.
Goes into
Well, there's really no dot in here because we're not talking about one thing. So before we were talking about like Dante, he's one person, or we were talking about this one single painting, so we could put a dot. Here, there's no dot because it's still the word all. So we want to know, are all of fried foods fitting within healthy? And they are.
So could we have like a dot? If we, I don't know, if we had some kind of premise, could we have a dot in the middle of one, like in one circle, and then a dot in another circle, like different, two different.
Yes. Yeah. So that's like the first one. We've got the dot in kind of two places because we don't know which place it really belongs.
Okay.
Yep. And that would mean it's an invalid argument if you can do that.
Oh, I get this.
All right. And our last one here. All M's are N's. All M's are N's. No N's are P's.
So draw a new P circle.
Draw a new P circle how?
Like
Around.
next door to it, but not.
Completely disconnected from it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Like that.
No N's are P's, so those two are completely disconnected things. Therefore,
You could say.
what can we conclude?
M's are not P's.
No M's are P's.
Can you just like make up your own conclusion from
Yeah, we want to like still only use what we have going on there. So since we've already talked about M and N, and we've talked about N and P, then talking about M and P would be kind of the only other combination we haven't done yet. So we'd want to draw that conclusion.